Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 4. Gavroche's Excess of Zeal. In the meantime, Gavroche had had an adventure. Gavroche, after having conscientiously stoned the lantern in the Rue du Chaume, entered the Rue des Villiers Hadriettes, and not seeing even a cat there, he thought the opportunity a good one to strike up all the song of which he was capable. His march, far from being retarded by his singing, was accelerated by it. He began to sew along sleeping or terrified houses these incendiary couplets. Le sceau me dit dans les chambres, et pretend queer atala, avec un rousse en ala. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Mon ami Pierrot, tu m'appelles, parce que le trésor mila, cogna sa vitre, et me appela. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Les drôlesses sont fort gentiles, leur poison qui m'ensorcella, grisserait monster orphila. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? J'aimais l'amour et les bisbelles, j'aimais Agnès, j'aimais Pamela, lycée en Malamont se brûla. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Jadis quand j'ai vu les manteles, du Suzette et des îles, mon ami à leur pli se mêla. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Amour quand dans l'ombre, où tu brilles, tu coiffes des roses Lola. Je me damnerai pour cela. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Jonathan Mirror, tu habiles. Mon soeur un beau jour se vola. Je crois que c'est Jean qui là. Où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Les soirs en sortant des quadrilles, j'ai montré à Itos de là, et j'ai l'air dit, regarde là, où vont les belles filles, l'on là? Gavroche, as he sang, was lavish of his pantomime. Gesture is the strong point of the refrain. His face, an inexhaustible repertory of masks, produced grimaces more convulsing and more fantastic than the rents of a cloth torn in a high gate. Unfortunately, as he was alone, and as it was night, this was neither seen nor even visible. Such wastes of riches do occur. All at once, he stopped. "Let us interrupt the romance," said he. His feline eye had just descried in the recess of a carriage door what is called in painting an ensemble. That is to say, a person and a thing. The thing was a handcart. The person was a man from Auvergne, who was sleeping therein. The shafts of the cart rested on the pavement, and the Auvergnat's head was supported against the front of the cart. His body was coiled up on this inclined plane, and his feet touched the ground. Gavroche, with his experience of the things of this world, recognized a drunken man. He was some corner errand man who had drunk too much and was sleeping too much. There now, thought Gavroche. That's what the summer nights are good for. We'll take the cart for the Republic and leave the Auvergnat for the monarchy. His mind had just been illuminated by this flash of light. How bully that cart would look on our barricade. The Auvergnat was snoring. Gavroche gently tugged at the cart from behind, and at the Auvergnat from the front, that is to say by the feet, and at the expiration of another minute the imperturbable Auvergnat was reposing flat on the pavement. The cart was free. Gavroche, habituated to facing the unexpected in all quarters, had everything about him. He fumbled in one of his pockets and pulled from it a scrap of paper and a bit of red pencil filched from some carpenter. He wrote, "French Republic, received thy cart," and he signed it Gavroche. That done, He put the paper in the pocket of the still snoring Avernet's velvet vest, seized the cart shafts in both hands, and set off in the direction of the Howells, pushing the cart before him at a hard gallop with a glorious and triumphant uproar. This was perilous. There was a post at the royal printing establishment. Gavroche did not think of this. This post was occupied by the National Guards of the suburbs. The squad began to wake up, and heads were raised from camp beds. 2 street lanterns broken in succession. That ditty sung at the top of the lungs. This was a great deal for those cowardly streets, which desire to go to sleep at sunset, and which put the extinguisher on their candles at such an early hour. For the last hour, that boy had been creating an uproar in that peaceable arrondissement, the uproar of a fly in a bottle. The sergeant of the banlieue lent an ear. He waited. He was a prudent man. The mad rattle of the cart filled to overflowing the possible measure of waiting, and decided the sergeant to make a reconnaissance. "There's a whole band of them there," said he. "Let us proceed gently." It was clear that the hydra of anarchy had emerged from its box, and that it was stalking abroad through the quarter, and the sergeant ventured out of the post with cautious tread. All at once, Gavroche, pushing his cart in front of him, and at the very moment when he was about to turn into the Rue des Villiers Hadriettes, found himself face to face with a uniform, a shako, a plume, and a gun. For the second time, he stopped short. "Hello," said he. "It's him. Good day, public order." Gavroche's amazement was always brief and speedily thawed. "Where are you going, you rascal?" shouted the sergeant. "Citizen," retorted Gavroche, "I haven't called you bourgeois yet. Why do you insult me?" "Where are you going, you rogue?" "Monsieur," retorted Gavroche, "perhaps you were a man of wit yesterday, but you've degenerated this morning. I ask you where you're going, you villain." Gavroche replied, "You speak prettily. Really, no one would suppose you as old as you are. You ought to sell all your hair at 100 francs apiece. That would yield you 500 francs. Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going, bandit?" Gavroche retorted again. "What villainous words. You must wipe your mouth better the first time that they give you suck." The sergeant lowered his bayonet. "Will you tell me where you're going, you wretch?" "General," said Gavroche, "I'm on my way to look for a doctor for my wife who's in labor." "To arms!" shouted the sergeant. The master stroke of strong men consists in saving themselves by the very means that have ruined them. Gavroche took in the whole situation at a glance. It was the cart which had told against him. It was the cart's place to protect him. At the moment when the sergeant was on the point of making its descent on Gavroche, the cart, converted into a projectile and launched with all the latter's might, rolled down upon him furiously, and the sergeant, struck full in the stomach, tumbled over backwards into the gutter while his gun went off in the air. The men of the post had rushed out pell-mell at the sergeant's shout. The shot brought on a general random discharge, after which they reloaded their weapons and began again. This blind man's buff musketry lasted for a quarter of an hour and killed several panes of glass. In the meanwhile, Gavroche, who had retraced his steps at full speed, halted 5 or 6 streets distant and seated himself, panting, on the stone post which forms the corner of the Infants' Rogues. He listened. After panting for a few minutes, he turned in the direction where the fusillade was raging, lifted his left hand to a level with his nose, and thrust it forward 3 times as he slapped the back of his head with his right hand, an imperious gesture in which Parisian street urchindom has condensed French irony, and which is evidently efficacious, since it has already lasted half a century. This gaiety was troubled by one bitter reflection. "Yes," said he, "I'm splitting with laughter. I'm twisting with delight. I abound in joy, but I'm losing my way. I shall have to take a roundabout way, if I only reach the barricade in season." Thereupon he set out again on a run. And as he ran, "Ah, by the way, where was I?" said he. And he resumed his ditty as he plunged rapidly through the streets, and this is what died away in the gloom. "Mais il restait encore des Bastilles, et je vais mettre le holà, dans l'ordre public que voilà, où vont les belles filles l'honneur. Quelqu'un vit-il jour à quelle, toutes les siennes monde secours là, quand le gros boulet roula." Où vont les belles filles luna? Oui, bon peuple, à coupe de bequil, le sang de l'ouvre, où c'est là? La monarchie en fabala, où vont les belles filles luna? Nous in avant, force les grilles, le roi Charles D. ces jours-là, tenait mal et c'est de cola. Où vont les belles filles luna? The post's recourse to arms was not without result. The cart was conquered. The drunken man was taken prisoner. The first was put in the pound. The second was later on somewhat harassed before the councils of war as an accomplice. The public ministry of the day proved its indefatigable zeal in the defense of society, in this instance. Gavroche's adventure, which has lingered as a tradition in the quarters of the Temple, is one of the most terrible souvenirs of the elderly bourgeois of the Marais, and is entitled in their memories, The Nocturnal Attack by the Post of the Royal Printing Establishment. The end of Volume 4, Saint Denis. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget, you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com, and while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.